Chapter 2007. She's here. I see her. Following this voice, with a swoosh, a group of figures suddenly appeared behind Luo Qingtong and surrounded her. Luo Qingtong, you can't run now, can you? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow when she heard the voice. Fang Jingyu. She looked at the group of people in front of her. Apart from Fang Jingyu, the rest were all from Celestial Palace. They were all around the Holy Emperor realm. Standing with Fang Jingyu was a Celestial Palace elder, who was a Holy Emperor. At this moment, Fang Jingyu was standing beside him, gritting her teeth as she looked at Luo Qingtong. The light in her eyes was both smug and venomous. Luo Qingtong, do you think you've escaped from us? Unfortunately, you won't be able to. She sneered at the rays of light that surrounded Luo Qingtong. Those were the rays of light that the people of Beast Tamer Valley could only see after they cultivated a special technique. In the entire Beast Taming King's Valley, only the upper echelons were qualified to practice this technique. And Fang Jingyu was one of those people who had the qualifications to cultivate. When Luo Qingtong had rushed into the land of the deceased immortals, most of the people from Celestial Palace and Beast Tamer Valley had been stopped. Among them, those from Beast Tamer Valley had been the most closely watched. Because Fang Jingyu was disabled and disfigured, she hadn't been noticed. She had followed closely behind Luo Qingtong into the land of the deceased immortals. A group of people from Celestial Palace had also chased her into the land of the deceased immortals. However, the moment they entered the land of the deceased immortals, they lost sight of Luo Qingtong. But Fang Jingyu could see her. She immediately ordered the people from Celestial Palace to lead her in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Because they had caught up in time, Luo Qingtong hadn't shaken them off. However, the more they chased, the more frightened they became. Luo Qingtong's ability was too shocking. She was completely unaffected by the fog in the land of the deceased immortals. The people from Celestial Palace had been carefully following Luo Qingtong from a distance at first, but when they realized that the girl was moving faster and faster, they were about to go crazy. They took a risk and increased their speed, only to find that there really wasn't any obstruction in the girl's direction. They moved forward according to Fang Jingyu's instructions and followed the path that Luo Qingtong took. They did not encounter any obstacles at all. Even so, the distance between them and Luo Qingtong was gradually increasing. If the girl hadn't suddenly stopped here, they probably wouldn't have been able to catch up with Luo Qingtong and could only watch her leave. Luo Qingtong. The Celestial Palace elder looked in Luo Qingtong's direction with a greedy expression and said coldly, "Hand over the map in your hands. And tell us how you managed to enter the land of the deceased immortals as if there was no one around. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll make sure you die a horrible death." His face was cold and gloomy. His eyes roamed greedily over Luo Qingtong's body. All of a sudden, his eyes narrowed. This is... He looked in shock at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand. Chapter 2008. The aura of this immortal jade bone is actually pure and untainted. His face was filled with ecstasy. This Celestial Palace elder had never seen an immortal jade bone in such a form. The immortal jade bones they had obtained before were all in a muddy state. However, the immortal jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand was pure and rich, and its color was crystal clear. Even though he had never personally experienced the power of this immortal jade bone, he could still feel it. It could be refined and absorbed by humans. What did this mean? It meant that Luo Qingtong had found a place, or rather, a way to obtain such a pure, immortal jade bone. Thinking that Luo Qingtong had suddenly stayed here for such a long time, this Celestial Palace elder confirmed his conjecture. At this moment, a protector of the Celestial Supreme Palace suddenly shouted, "Elder, look, this is a bloody corpse." He looked in shock at the blood-colored corpse that had been split in half not far from Luo Qingtong and raised his hand to point at it. Following his finger, the crowd of Celestial Palace people was suddenly indescribably shocked. The bloody corpse was naturally what they called it in Celestial Palace. In the land of the deceased immortals, the various sects had different names for this bloody corpse. However, one thing was certain. This bloody corpse was very difficult to deal with. No one knew how this bloody corpse was formed, but it could ignore ordinary physical attacks. Even if it was split in half, it could still attack and cause the cultivators present to die tragically. Everyone in the sects of the hidden world knew that the most difficult time to deal with a bloody corpse was not when its body was in perfect condition. Instead, it was when its body was split in half. At that time, all kinds of invisible and formless attacks were the most frightening. Moreover, it could also possess and control a person's body. Many people didn't even know how they died when faced with a bloody corpse. Generally speaking, when encountering such a thing, one could only run. But at this moment, not far from Luo Qingtong, there was a bloody corpse lying on the ground. As for her, she was completely unharmed. Did you kill this bloody corpse? The Celestial Palace elder looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise, then looked at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in her hand. He was overjoyed. Haha, I didn't know that I could obtain such a pure blood immortal jade bone after killing a blood corpse. The elder of the Celestial Palace raised his head and laughed. He didn't think that with Luo Qingtong's strength, she would be able to kill this zombie. The only explanation was that Luo Qingtong had discovered a weakness of the zombie and was able to kill it without leaving a trace. Ha! Good. He laughed loudly. No one knows about this yet, but we're going to be rich. The Celestial Palace elder was very pleased with himself. He naturally knew what this piece of news meant. Once they got hold of this secret, their status in the Celestial Palace, and even in the hidden world, would rise. When that time came, they would definitely be able to obtain great benefits. As he thought about this, he looked at Luo Qingtong with even more desire. Luo Qingtong, be a good girl and tell us everything you know. Perhaps we can consider leaving you with an intact corpse. Chapter 2009. As soon as he spoke, Fang Jingyu's cold laughter rang in his ears. She got off easy this time. As Fang Jingyu spoke, she glared at Luo Qingtong with a cold and vicious gaze. Her heart was filled with jealousy. Previously, she thought she was about to lose Luo Qingtong. Why did she have so many trump cards and abilities? She had so many of them. Even in the land of the deceased immortals, she was different from others. Fang Jingyu was jealous. She was so jealous that Luo Qingtong was going crazy. Even as the daughter of the Beast Tamer King, Guguju, she didn't live as carefree and unrestrained as Luo Qingtong. The other party had faced the people of the two great sects alone, and after offending them, he had left in a carefree manner, calm and collected. How could she live so carefree and unrestrained? She was supposed to be the favored daughter of the heavens, the person who lived so proudly and willfully. Fang Jingyu's gaze was sinister. She looked at Luo Qingtong. Her gaze was like the spitting of a venomous snake. It was extremely vicious and ruthless. If she refuses to speak, then we'll tie her up in the land of the deceased immortals. You should know that once one loses the protection of the immortal jade bone in the land of the deceased immortals, they'll become walking corpses. Luo Qingtong, tell me, what if I make them take an aphrodisiac before they die? What do you think will happen to you? Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong with a sinister smile. Of course, even if Luo Qingtong told her, she would still deal with her in the same way. She would never tell Luo Qingtong this. How could she let Luo Qingtong off so easily? Luo Qingtong could only wait for her miserable death. Only by watching Luo Qingtong being ravaged by those corpses would she be able to vent the hatred in her heart. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows at Fang Jingyu when she heard her words. Little Pig, who was beside her, also jumped up at this moment. F*CK. Isn't this woman's mind too sinister? Look at how ugly and crippled she is. No wonder she's a pervert. Little Pig muttered. Then he shouted at Fang Jingyu, Hey, ugly woman, are you jealous of my master's beauty? Is that why you're harming her like this? Even if you harm her like this, you won't become beautiful. As Little Pig spoke, He raised a hoof toward Fang Jingyu. It had no choice. It wanted to learn from Luo Qingtong and give her a thumbs down or something. But he couldn't do that pose as a hoof. However, it was enough to raise one hoof. Hearing Little Pig's words, Fang Jingyu exploded in anger. Who was the one who caused her to become like this? Wasn't it? Now, even the pig beside her was laughing at him. Fang Jingyu's as she Little Pig. Calm. Jingyu. Just do as I say. Don't worry. I swear to the heavens that I will never reveal anything about her. I only want this woman dead. Fang Jingyu's voice was crazed. She didn't care if the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley could get Luo Qingtong's secrets. She didn't care if the people from Celestial Palace wanted to monopolize the secrets. She only wanted Luo Qingtong dead. Nothing else mattered. Hearing her words, the people from Celestial Palace looked at each other. The elder from Celestial Palace waved his hand and said, "Do it." Indeed, it was too difficult to get an answer from Luo Qingtong's mouth. It was better to do as Fang Jingyu said. When they were about to make their move, Luo Qingtong finally opened her mouth with an indifferent expression. P.S. I'm too sleepy to write. 7 chapters, 4 chapters guaranteed, 3 extra chapters. I'll continue during the day. Moi. As usual, if I don't see any new chapters by noon, it'll be after 6 p.m. Chapter 2010. Are you done? The girl raised her eyebrows slightly. It wasn't anything special. But at this moment, on this beautiful face without any concealment, there was an enchanting charm that was completely different from others. Domineering, unrestrained, gorgeous, and enchanting. If you're done, then prepare to die. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She had stood there for so long, not to listen to their nonsense, but to be sure that no one else was following behind them. A sage emperor and more than 20 sage emperors. Is this what you're relying on? Her gaze swept across the group of Celestial Palace people who were charging at her, and Fang Jingyu, who had a complacent and ruthless expression on her face. With such strength, these people wanted to make her die a miserable death, or perhaps make her suffer a fate worse than death? Luo Qingtong, you can continue to boast shamelessly and deliberately mystify as much as you can. After all, this is the only path you can take, isn't it? Fang Jingyu sneered. She listened to Luo Qingtong's words, but she wasn't moved at all. This woman was probably only left with such a scheming path, wasn't she? But at this moment, who could fall for her trick? Previously, when she toyed with the Beast-Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace in the palm of her hand, people had already seen through her cunning nature. But now, the people of Heavenly Yuan sect and that masked man weren't here. So who could save her? She would try her best to show off her cleverness and see if she could save her own life. Fang Jingyu's expression became more and more twisted and cold. She couldn't wait to see Luo Qingtong's panicked and desperate expression when she realized that her plan was no longer working. Her expression was sinister, and she treated all of Luo Qingtong's words as a deliberate threat. Little Pig, on the other hand, looked at her sympathetically. Idiot. He took back his previous words. This woman was more than ugly and crippled. She was clearly stupid. She was hopelessly stupid. She actually thought that Luo Qingtong's words were a threat so that they would let her live? What a strange way of thinking. It was true that Luo Qingtong was good at scheming, but not everyone was worthy of her scheming. These people from Celestial Palace didn't even have the qualifications to be used by her. Where did Fang Jingyu get her confidence from? How could she say such words? A face was a good thing. Hopefully she would understand it. Luo Qingtong couldn't be bothered to listen to Fang Jingyu's words. She waved the long sword in her hand and said, Little Pig, humph, watch these people. Don't give them a chance to escape. As she spoke, she charged towards the people from the Celestial Palace who were charging towards her. Clang! The long sword in the young girl's hand made a clanging sound like a bell. The cold light on it was piercingly cold. It suddenly lit up, and the coldness was wanton. Boom! A stunning sword radiance shot out from Luo Qingtong's life-and-death dual swords and rushed towards the people from the supreme celestial palace. First form of the heaven-conquering art, heaven seizing. Luo Qingtong's strength was enough to kill an ordinary Saint King realm expert when she was still a Saint Lord. Chapter 2011. Bang! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand struck a celestial palace expert who was the first to reach her. At first, the opponent did not think much of Luo Qingtong's attack. She was just a Saint King realm girl. Even if she was a rare genius with extraordinary strength, so what? Moreover, who didn't know that Luo Qingtong's reputation as a genius was a lie to the people of beast-taming King's Valley? No one knew whether her talent as a beast-taming master was real or not. Not to mention that her martial talent had never been revealed before. This celestial palace Saint King completely ignored Luo Qingtong's attack. He raised his hand and wanted to use the weapon in his hand to block Luo Qingtong's attack. However, just as his weapon came into contact with Luo Qingtong's attack, his expression changed drastically. Not because of anything else, but the power contained in Luo Qingtong's attack was actually not inferior to these Holy Emperor realm cultivators. In fact, it was even stronger than that. What's going on? How did she do it? This celestial palace expert was shocked. He opened his mouth and wanted to warn the others around him to be careful. However, the sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand had already broken through his defense. With a bang, it broke through the attack that he had casually raised his hand to block and directly cut his throat. Bang! This celestial palace Saint King realm expert's corpse fell to the ground. The other celestial palace Saint King realm expert who had rushed up to grab Luo Qingtong was caught off guard and was blinded by the sudden splash of blood. Before he could react, in the next second, an incomparably sharp sword light flew over and directly cut off his head. His corpse fell heavily to the ground. In just an instant, 2 Saint Emperors had died. The experts of Celestial Palace were shocked. Only now did they realize that what Luo Qingtong had said about them waiting for death was not nonsense, nor was it deliberately mystifying. The other party's strength was clearly not an ordinary Saint King. After all, which Saint King possessed the strength to instantly annihilate Saint Emperors like them? It was laughable that they thought that Luo Qingtong was not strong enough to fool the Beast-Tamer King Valley and the Celestial Palace. However, he didn't know that the girl's strength had never been revealed from the beginning to the end. Beast-Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace were 2 complete sects with powerful strength. Naturally, they were worthy of Luo Qingtong's scheming. However, it wasn't worth it for these people. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and fear. After the 2 Saint Emperors fell, a Celestial Palace Saint King realm expert directly blasted towards Luo Qingtong's location. However, the girl's figure had already disappeared. The special terrain of a land of the deceased immortals could completely hide Luo Qingtong's figure. She could clearly see the figures of the Celestial Palace people, but they could not see her. Bang, bang, bang. Sword light flashed past one after another. The group of Celestial Palace Saint Emperors could not fight back under Luo Qingtong's attacks. They could not even see where Luo Qingtong was. Chapter 2012. Bang, bang, bang. When their bodies fell, Fong Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder finally regained their senses. They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock, especially Fong Jingyu. She was still waiting for Luo Qingtong to be captured by these people from Celestial Palace and brought to her
Fong Jingyu
so that she could torture her,
she could
come and go
mercilessly
as she pleased
at
in
that
the
time,
graveyard of immortals.
even if Luo
because of the treasure
Qingtong
map
wanted
she'd
to open her
obtained,
mouth to
Luo
reveal
Qingtong's
something
lips curled
beg
up
for
for a chance to
amusement.
live. She would not allow it.
Chapter
She would not allow it
2014.
She
When
would
the Celestial
definitely
Palace
do
Elder
something in
heard
the dark
Fong
and
Jingyu's
torture the
words,
other party
he
to death.
immediately thought
However,
of the treasure map.
who could tell her
He was
why the
very
scene in front
excited
of
when
her
he thought
was
that
completely
Luo
different
Qingtong's
from what
ability
she had expected?
might have come from the
More
treasure
than 20
map.
holy
If he could get his
Emperor
hands
stage
on the
expert
treasure
from
map,
Celestial
wouldn't
Palace
all the
were
abilities
slaughtered
that
by
Luo
Luo
Qingtong
Qingtong
possessed
in
belong
less
to him?
than a few breaths
Including
of
the
time?
ability to
Fong
walk
Jingyu
freely
and the
in
Celestial
land of
Palace
the deceased
Elder
immortals,
did not even have
as
time
well as
to
the
react.
ability to
They
kill
were too
blood-rotting
confident
corpses
in their opinion
and obtain the
how
pure
could
blood
Luo
celestial
Qingtong
jade
escape the
bones.
siege of those
As the
holy
Celestial
Emperor
Palace
stage
Elder
experts from
thought
Celestial
about it,
Palace?
his fear
The only
of
outcome
Luo
for her
was to be
Qingtong
captured
disappeared.
and tied up.
Instead,
The Celestial Palace
he looked at
Elder
her
watched the
as
show
if she were a
with his hands
lamb
clasped
waiting to be
behind his
slaughtered.
back.
His
By the
eyes
time
were
he
full of
realized that
desire
something
and
was
greed.
wrong,
Okay,
he had
come
already
here.
lost the
Give me
best
instructions.
opportunity to act.
As the Celestial
Just as he was
Palace
about to
Elder
rush out,
spoke,
he
was
pulled
stopped
Fong
by Little
Jinyu in
Pig.
front of him.
Little
and
Pig
let
had
her
been
hug him
sleeping in
tightly.
a nine-story
Then,
exquisite
his figure suddenly
pagoda
swept up
for so
and
long
rushed in the
because
direction
of Luo
of
Qingtong's
Qingtong.
increase in strength.
He was sure that with Fong
His original
Jinyu around,
strength had also
Luo
been
Qingtong
unsealed.
would not be
Now,
able to sneak
Little
up on him,
Pig's strength
as
had
long as he
also
could catch the
increased.
other party's
His little
location.
pink figure
Given
was
the
like
other
a
party's
bolt
strength,
of lightning.
he would
Flying
sooner or
around
later
the
kill
Celestial
or
Palace
capture
Elder.
her. His
At
four
that
little
time,
pink
wouldn't
hooves
the treasure map
flickered
be
with
his?
a chilly light.
As for the pink
letting
pig
people
beside
know
the
that
other
his
party,
little hooves
it
were
could stop
not
him
just
for a
good
while,
at acting
but
cute.
would it be able to stop
Bang.
him
That
forever?
Celestial Palace
Sooner
Elder
or later,
hurriedly blasted
all of them would
out and
fall
attacked.
into his hands.
But it was intercepted
As the Celestial
midway.
Palace Elder
Not
thought
only
about
that,
it,
but
he
a
suddenly
Celestial
released
Palace
his holy
aura
Emperor
and
stage
attacked
expert,
Luo
who had turned around to
Qingtong.
escape, was
The
also
aura
pierced
of
through
the
by Little
sage
Pig's
Emperor
little
realm
hoof the
was
moment
so
he turned
vast
around
that it
the
almost
charm
shook
of
the
an ancient
heavens
divine
and the
beast
earth.
was
The surrounding
finally
fog
revealed
was
a
stirred
little.
up, swoosh,
Forming a very
after
sharp
Luo
and terrifying
Qingtong
vortex.
killed the last
The sound of the
Celestial
wind
Palace
cutting through
holy
the vortex
Emperor stage
was as
expert who
sharp
had
as a
besieged her.
knife. She turned to
Boom,
look at the Celestial Palace
boom.
Elder.
The Celestial
Fong
Palace
Jinyu
Elder's
beside him.
aura
Fong
was
Jinyu's
extremely
expression
strong.
changed
Luo
greatly.
Qingtong,
She had wanted to
narrowed her
warn
eyes
these
as
Celestial
she
Palace
watched him
experts
attack her.
of
In her
Luo
eyes,
Qingtong's
a blood-red
whereabouts.
vortex
However,
spun
Luo
violently.
Qingtong's movements
She had already
were too
practiced
fast.
the moves
In such a
and the
battle
power
of
of the
life
Celestial
and death,
Palace
the
disciples'
distance
moves,
between life
as well as the
and
changes
death
in the later
could be
stages of his
separated
moves.
in just an instant.
Luo Qingtong
Fong
held the
Jinyu
life
had no
and
time to
death
speak.
yin yang
Of course,
soared horizontally
even if she
in
had
the face
spoken,
of her opponent's
she wouldn't have been
ferocious
able to
attack.
change the outcome.
Annihilation,
because Luo Qingtong's figure was
attack
constantly
blasted
changing.
out. By the
In the
time
blink
she
of an
called
eye,
out Luo
the white
Qingtong's
light
location,
rushed
the girl had
forward like a
already changed her
waterfall.
position. As soon as the light of annihilation came into contact with the mist surrounding the fallen immortal land, it reacted violently. The surrounding light was constantly being melted and transformed, strengthening the power of this annihilation attack. As the annihilation's sword light grew, it suddenly evolved from a crescent moon to a full bowstring. Boom! When this ray of light collided with the attack unleashed by the Celestial Palace's Elder, it surprisingly annihilated and neutralized his attack. Bang! The attacks of the two sides collided and exploded in midair. Fong Jinyu and the Celestial Palace Elder had imagined that Luo Qingtong would take advantage of the terrain of the fallen immortal land to deal with them and escape in a panic. Everything was in their imagination. Luo Qingtong was standing right in front of them and fighting them head-on. Luo Qingtong's strength was tyrannical. Chapter 2015. What's circling around? What dodging? What using a treasure map to obtain victory against those Saint Emperor Realm experts? None of that existed. If Luo Qingtong had used such a move before, those Saint Emperor Realm experts would not have been able to withstand it. Why would she need to use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals to circle around? She was doing this to hide her strength. Bang! The Celestial Palace Elder was forced to take a step back by the shockwave from the explosion in midair. His face was aghast. The strength displayed by Luo Qingtong's attack was not inferior to his at all. How could she be so strong? The girl who he thought would be an easy target had suddenly turned into an expert who was not inferior to him at all, resisting him with the strength of a Saint King Realm expert. The Celestial Supreme Palace's Elder felt as if he had been F***ed. Fong Jingyu's expression was even more incredulous. She had previously vowed that she would help this Celestial Palace Elder to prevent Luo Qingtong from escaping. In the blink of an eye, she realized that she was of no use at all, even if she did not use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals. Luo Qingtong's strength was not inferior to the Celestial Palace Elder at all. Fong Jingyu screamed in a shrill voice, unable to believe all this. As for the Celestial Palace Elder, he quickly flew back the moment he retreated.
He could see that Luo Qingtong's strength was not something that an ordinary Saint Emperor Realm expert, or even a Saint Emperor Realm expert, could deal with. The fact that the other party was able to kill the bloody corpse wasn't due to luck or the treasure map. It was due to true strength. No, he had to leave this place immediately and report this matter to the sect so that they and the people of beast-taming King Valley could deal with Luo Qingtong. Even if he could not kill her, he would still be rewarded handsomely if he could pass on her various abilities and situation to the sect. However, just as he turned around, a pink little pig's trotter appeared in front of him. With a wave of its hoof, it forced him back. "Hey, don't worry. What's the hurry? Weren't you quite capable just now? Continue." Little Pig's hooves stirred up the wind as it stomped on the air, its face filled with a smug and adorable expression. What did these guys take them for? A dish? If he wanted to eat, he would serve, but if he didn't, he would withdraw? What a joke. With Grandpa Pig here, let's see who can leave. Did he think that helping Luo Qingtong was fake? Only then did the elder of the Celestial Palace realize that the situation was not good. Luo Qingtong had clearly planned this out. She would first kill those Saint Emperor Realm experts, then deal with him and Fong Jingyu. The girl's strength was not as weak as they thought. She had deliberately concealed her strength in order to make them lower their guard. It's over. His heart turned cold. He hated Fong Jingyu to the bone. Originally, he was a little hesitant when he saw that Luo Qingtong was able to use the terrain of the fallen immortal land to kill a group of Saint Emperor Realm experts. After all, if Luo Qingtong continued to hide in the fog of the fallen immortal land, even if he was stronger than her, he might not be able to do anything to her. If other evil beings were attracted, it would be inevitable that both sides would suffer losses. At that time, he wanted to leave. It was Fong Jingyu's words that gave him the confidence to deal with Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2016. The Celestial Palace's elder was furious as he thought about this. He pulled Fong Jingyu off his body and threw her at Little Pig. Fong Jingyu's face was filled with terror. She screamed hysterically. She dashed towards Little Pig. Little Pig looked at her with disdain. "Ugly woman," Little Pig said, and slapped Fong Jingyu away with his hoof. The latter instantly screamed in agony as he fell heavily to the ground beside him. Coincidentally, the spot where she had hit was right in front of the corpse. Fong Jingyu screamed even more miserably when she saw the corpse's hideous face. When Fong Jingyu was slapped away, the Celestial Palace elder rushed out from where Little Pig was. However, it was too late. His fate was sealed the moment Little Pig blocked his path. Annihilation! Luo Qingtong's sword light blasted out again. It rushed toward the Celestial Palace elder. When the elder sensed the attack, he didn't even turn his head. He only attacked backward. He had already rushed out. Luo Qingtong couldn't stop him even if she attacked again. Luo Qingtong, don't be so smug. Before he could finish his sentence, he screamed miserably. Several types of flames suddenly flew out from the attack and blasted his body. It turned out that Luo Qingtong had added the power of the soul of 1,000 flames into her annihilation attack. Although the annihilation attack was neutralized, the power of the soul of 1,000 flames was still there. As soon as the power flew out, the Celestial Palace elder's body was covered in flames. The color and power of these flames were different. They weren't easy to extinguish. Their combined power was very powerful. In just an instant, the elder of the Celestial Palace was burned to the point where he was rolling on the ground. A series of cries of agony burst out from his mouth. Then, Luo Qingtong shot out a ray of annihilation light, which made him spit out blood and fall to the ground. The Celestial Palace elder's body twitched. The power of the soul of 1,000 flames on his body didn't last long. It burned out quickly, but now he didn't have any strength to resist. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and walked toward the Celestial Palace elder. She waved her hand and took something from his body. Sensing her actions, the Celestial Palace elder's eyes widened. No. His voice was filled with fear. But before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong knocked him out. Fang Jingyu screamed miserably. Her face. She fell on the corpse and couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried. Her whole body was filled with the stench of rotten corpses and blood. Because she couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried, she fell on the corpse and had intimate contact with it several times. It was so irritating that she wanted to vomit. Ah! She screamed shrilly, and Luo Qingtong walked over directly. With a crack, she dislocated her chin. Are you done screaming? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Fang Jingyu's face was filled with hatred and fear. Luo Qingtong, you'd better kill me. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Absolutely not. When Luo Qingtong put Fang Jingyu's chin back in place, she screamed shrilly. Chapter 2017. Bang! Luo Qingtong stomped her back onto the corpse. Fang Jingyu, don't try to provoke me. I won't let you die easily. Trust me, you can't bear the consequences. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Blood flashed in her eyes. How could she not know what Fang Jingyu was thinking? She wanted to provoke her and then die quickly. But how could it be so easy? If she wanted to kill her, she would have done it long ago. Why would she wait until now? Now speak. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. How did you people from beast-taming King's Valley discover my identity? How did you catch up with me? In addition, in the Broken Star Valley, what else is there besides the 5th beast-taming incantation? You? You know all of it. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Fang Jingyu's heart was shocked. The 5th beast-taming incantation was not recorded in the Holy Book. How did Luo Qingtong know? What? Are you surprised that I know? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu with raised eyebrows. I also know that the combination of your beast-taming King Valley's 4 beast-taming arts and the 5th beast-taming art is a true, flawless beast-taming art. If not, why would she spare Fang Jingyu's life for the time being? The beast-taming incantation that you people from beast-taming King's Valley cultivate is just a defective copy, right? You. Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. She struggled with all her might on the corpse. How do you know all of this? This was impossible. Only the top people in beast-taming King's Valley knew that the 4 beast-taming incantations were complete. If she wasn't the daughter of beast-taming King Guguju, she wouldn't know this. How did Luo Qingtong know? How could she know such a thing? Fang Jingyu's heart was full of disbelief. You don't need to know how I found out. The important thing is whether you want to tell me what you know. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Fang Jingyu looked conflicted. She looked at Luo Qingtong with hatred and resentment. She didn't want the other party to get what she wanted. Why should she tell him everything she knew? But if he didn't speak, he would die. Besides, if she didn't say anything, couldn't Luo Qingtong find the answer from other places? Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu gritted her teeth. Then, she said to Luo Qingtong with a twisted expression, "If you swear that you will let me go after I tell you, and that you and everyone around you will not attack me, hurt me, or kill me, then I will tell you." Good. Luo Qingtong looked at her, the corners of her lips slightly raised, and she agreed in an unusually straightforward manner. As long as you swear to the heavens that you are telling the truth, I will let you go. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She would naturally let go Fang Jingyu, but at that time, she was afraid that Fang Jingyu would rather her than let her go. Good. Fang Jingyu nodded. Although she was puzzled by Luo Qingtong's straightforward answer, she thought about it. But she thought about it again and again. She was very sure that if Luo Qingtong swore according to what she said, there was no loophole to take advantage of. The other party could only let her go. At that time, when she returned to the beast-taming King Valley team, she would definitely make the other party pay the price. Luo Qingtong, just you wait. As long as I can survive this time, I will make you beg for death in the future. It's over. 8 chapters. Guaranteed, minimum of 4 chapters, plus 4 chapters. I've paid back all the tips and updates I owe. Also, happy 520 PDA. I love you guys. Chapter 2018. I was able to find you because you have the aura of the Holy Book on you. Fang Jingyu said coldly.
She and Luo Qingtong had both sworn an oath to the heavens. Seeing that there was no problem, she opened her mouth and told them the reason why she could see Luo Qingtong. The holy book. Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow. No wonder the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley could find her. Apart from her, only the highest level of the Beast-Taming King's Valley had touched the holy book. It was indeed easy to find her through the aura. However, there's a limit to the aura, right? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow at Fang Jingyu. Otherwise, the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley wouldn't have waited until the land of the deceased immortals was about to open to find her at the entrance. Yes, Fang Jingyu said coldly. There's a limit to the distance. Therefore, after Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others were stopped by the people from the Sky Branch, she and the people from Celestial Palace were the only ones who managed to catch up. Otherwise, how could Luo Qingtong have escaped so easily? She wouldn't have been the one to be trampled to the ground and faced with the bloody corpse. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu's heart was filled with hatred and resentment. However, she quickly calmed down. In the land of the deceased immortals, they would always have a chance to find and deal with Luo Qingtong. Unless she gave up on the great benefits in the land of the deceased immortals and left, not participating in the battles and trials here. But was that possible? Fang Jingyu sneered. Even if Luo Qingtong didn't have the treasure map to the center of the land of the deceased immortals, Fang Jingyu wouldn't miss the opportunity to train in the land of the deceased immortals. After all, even if Luo Qingtong left the land of the deceased immortals, she would be able to avoid their search and pursuit this time. In the future, she wouldn't be able to escape from the hidden world. Therefore, Luo Qingtong wouldn't give up the opportunity to enter the land of the deceased immortals. By then, he would have countless ways to find her and kill her in the land of the deceased immortals. At that thought, Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "Even so, Luo Qingtong, you can't escape. We, the Beast-Taming King Valley, have countless ways to find you. As long as you are within our sensing range. Even if you were underground, we would still be able to find you." There were many Beast-Tamer King Valley disciples in the fallen immortal land. Sooner or later, someone would discover Luo Qingtong. At that time, the other party would most likely be silently surrounded. By the time the situation was discovered, it was already too late. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu laughed coldly. She wasn't afraid that Luo Qingtong would kill her. After all, she still wanted to interrogate her. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had just made an oath. Is that so? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu's smug and arrogant expression and smiled. Then let's wait and see. Sometimes, it was a rare pleasure to see prey struggling in self-righteous ways. Do you have a way to remove this feeling? Fang Jingyu asked. No, Fang Jingyu said coldly, then looked at Luo Qingtong mockingly. You still want to remove this feeling. I advise you to stop dreaming. The Saint Book was the most important thing in the Beast-Taming King Valley. Chapter 2019. If Luo Qingtong hadn't been discovered, it would have been fine. They wouldn't have thought of using this method to deal with her and confirm her identity. After all, the aura on the Holy Book could only be determined and activated by the Beast-Tamer King's Valley's Dark Branch's unique array. But once it was determined and activated, Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to remove it, unless she died. Otherwise, this aura would follow her for life. As long as the Beast-Tamer King's Valley sensed it, they would be able to find her. You really don't have it? Luo Qingtong looked at her with a chuckle. Then if the people of the Beast-Tamer King's Valley touched the Holy Book, they would also carry this mark for life. Fang Jingyu, don't tease me. Or are you trying to tell me that you don't know what this aura mark represents? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu with a smile. She would touch the Holy Book. The people of the Beast-Tamer King's Valley would also touch it. Could it be that those people would leave such a hidden danger? One must know that once one was marked, there was a possibility that one's whereabouts could be investigated and traced. Were the hearts of the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others so big?
Weren't they afraid that there would be people who wanted to harm them and take their positions and kill them? Luo Qingtong didn't believe that the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley would be so harmonious. Therefore, there must be a way to remove this aura so that others couldn't sense it. You. Fang Jingyu gritted her teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. The girl's every question was very sharp and to the point. Moreover, she was very insightful, making it impossible for her to deceive her. Damn it, why was the other party so good at asking questions? What she didn't know was that this was a necessary skill for Luo Qingtong in her previous life. When doing a mission, when being chased, if she couldn't even get the basic information from other people's words, Luo Qingtong might as well wait for death. There's indeed a way to hide this aura. But this aura can't be removed, Fang Jingyu said coldly. She had indeed wanted to use this method of secretly changing the concept to avoid the problem of Luo Qingtong. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong was not fooled at all. If he continued to hide it, he would be punished by the heavenly Tao. Fang Jingyu had no choice but to say this. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately raised her eyebrows. What method? This method is useless to you, Fang Jingwei said coldly. She didn't say it, not because she was afraid that Luo Qingtong would learn it, but because she didn't want Luo Qingtong to know so much. He simply didn't want to talk about it. Since Luo Qingtong wanted to hear it, then she would tell her. The only way to conceal this aura is to practice our beast-taming King Valley's unique cultivation technique. At that time, the two auras will cancel each other out. But in our beast-taming King's Valley, that technique can only be cultivated after being selected by the Dark Department and injected with a special type of energy. Otherwise, ordinary cultivators can't practice it at all. Tell me, how can you conceal this aura? Her face was full of ridicule. She had said before that Luo Qingtong could stop dreaming. Attribute aura? Soul seal aura? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She thought that she probably understood what was going on with the unique cultivation technique that the people of beast-taming King's Valley practiced. Like the soul seal, only people with a specific attribute aura can practice it, right? That cultivation technique? Chapter 2020. This was done by the founder of the Dark Department. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. His soul seal's aura can form a special connection and response with other auras. So he thought of using this to protect the Holy Book's aura. Luo Qingtong tapped the back of her other hand with her finger, then looked at Fang Jingyu and said the so-called special method that allows people to cultivate that unique technique is just to symbolically display the aura of the soul seal, right? She raised her eyebrows and looked at Fang Jingyu. Under normal circumstances, if a cultivator didn't possess the attribute of the soul seal, they wouldn't be able to cultivate that soul seal's cultivation technique. But if one didn't require attack power and only wanted to possess the aura of the soul seal, there were still some special methods to achieve it. Was this what Fang Jingyu meant when she said that? Otherwise, Luo Qingtong really couldn't think of any special technique that could only be cultivated by the people selected by the Dark Department of the Beast Tamer King's Valley. Take note, it was the people they selected, not the people who had some kind of innate talent. Fang Jingyu's face was cold, and she didn't speak. Her heart was in a perilous situation. Luo Qingtong's ability to ask questions was really too amazing. She didn't say much at all, but the other party was able to guess most of the information from her words. Fortunately, even if Luo Qingtong guessed correctly, she still couldn't cultivate that special technique. She still couldn't conceal the aura on her body. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu sneered. That's right, it's just as you said. But so what? She snorted coldly and looked at Luo Qingtong. You still can't get rid of the aura on your body. You don't need to worry about whether I can get rid of it or not. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She was born with a mixed yuan body, so she could cultivate any attribute of the technique. She didn't need to go through the Beast Tamer King's Valley's special method of injecting aura. So what Fang Jingyu thought about, that she couldn't cultivate, didn't exist at all. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly said to Fang Jing, write down that cultivation technique from memory. As she spoke, she took out a pen and paper from the trash ring in her hand and tossed it to Fong Jingyu. What? Fong Jingyu stared blankly at the pen and paper that Luo Qingtong had thrown in front of her. Why do you want me to write it down from memory? She couldn't cultivate. You just have to write it down from memory. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Did she need to tell Fong Jingyu whether she could cultivate or not? Oof. Fong Jingyu sneered. She thought that Luo Qingtong was unwilling to give up and wanted to try. Since that was the case, she would let her know what despair was. As she thought about it, she immediately wrote down the cultivation method from memory. In any case, she had great confidence in this. Even if Luo Qingtong cultivated until she vomited blood, it was impossible for her to succeed. This was something that the beast taming King's Valley had long since verified. Fong Jingyu quickly wrote down the cultivation method from memory. Luo Qingtong glanced at it and put it away. She had already memorized this cultivation method in her mind and began to silently circulate it in her body. Then she looked at Fong Jingyu and asked, "Next, it's about the Shattered Star Valley. How much do you know about it?" Don't you already know most of it? Chapter 2021. When Luo Qingtong talked about the 5th beast taming art, she was very shocked. This was definitely the biggest secret of their beast taming King Valley. Even if Luo Qingtong had read the holy book, she should know about it. Thinking about it, Fong Jingyu clenched her teeth and said, "In the Broken Star Valley, the founder of our beast taming King Valley accidentally found an expert's inheritance. As you've seen in the Saint Book, our beast taming King Valley's beast taming incantations and various powerful cultivation methods and martial skills are mostly obtained from the Saint Book. And those beast taming art were all incomplete copies that we copied from there. Although it can control demonic beasts, it has a lot of drawbacks." As she spoke, she looked at Luo Qingtong with a sinister gaze and said, "Previously in the Beast Garden, didn't my father's demonic beast bite back? Luo Qingtong, tell me honestly, was that your doing?" Fong Jingyu's voice was cold and harsh. Her tragic fate had begun when she was in the Beast Garden, disfigured and half-crippled. It was all because of the riot in the Beast Garden. Although she hated Luo Qingtong before, she didn't think that Luo Qingtong could control those demonic beasts and cause all this. She only thought that Luo Qingtong didn't fall in her trap, causing her to rush over check and end up like this. But now, after hearing Luo Qingtong talk about the 5th beast taming art, she wasn't sure anymore. After all, if Luo Qingtong knew about the 5th beast taming art, it meant that she was very familiar with their beast taming King Valley's beast taming art. Was Luo Qingtong the one who harmed her? It was me. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't feel that there was anything to hide. Not only the Beast Garden, but also the Superior Serious Flower and the deaths of Han Dong and the others. It was all my doing. Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, and Fong Jingyu's expression instantly became as sinister as a ghost. "You did it. You actually did it all." Her voice was shrill. Fong Jingyu didn't think too much about it before. She only thought that Luo Qingtong came for the holy book. He only used the Superior Serious Flower to attract the attention of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. But now that Luo Qingtong said it, she realized that it was all Luo Qingtong's doing. She killed Han Dong and ruined her birthday banquet. She was the one who had caused him to become like this. Fong Jingyu's expression was fierce. Almost instantly, she couldn't control herself and pounced on Luo Qingtong. Bang! Luo Qingtong kicked her back to the ground and stepped on her firmly. "Fong Jingyu, you still don't know who's the one calling the shots?" Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and she kicked Fong Jingyu away. Fong Jingyu fell heavily on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Beside her was Elder Hua from Celestial Palace. "Luo Qingtong." Fong Jingyu's voice was shrill. "You swore to the heavens that as long as I told you everything you wanted to know, you would let me go. Now let me go," she shouted at Luo Qingtong. That kick just now was because she attacked Luo Qingtong first and the latter hit her back, so it didn't count. She wanted to leave this place immediately.
Luo Qingtong, just you wait. When she returned to the Beast Tamer King's Valley team, she would kill her. All right. Luo Qingtong looked at Elder Hua lying beside her and raised her eyebrows. Chapter 2022. With that, she turned around and left. Fang Jingyu was stunned for a moment as she watched her leave. Although she didn't know why Luo Qingtong was so easy to talk to and didn't even make things difficult for her, Fang Jingyu didn't have time to think about it. She quickly struggled to get up from the ground. She was about to run away. However, before she could get up from the ground, beside her, the body of Elder Hua from Celestial Palace started to squirm slowly. His movements were small at first, then became bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. Even his whole body was trembling violently. Fang Jingyu felt the movement beside her. Suddenly, her whole body stiffened. She thought of something. This Elder Hua from Celestial Palace didn't die. Shouldn't he have been killed by Luo Qingtong? If he didn't die, then Fang Jingyu's face turned pale in an instant. She suddenly remembered the loophole in the oath she made with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong didn't need to do it herself. She didn't even need to use anyone or anything around her, and she could easily put him to death. As long as she didn't kill Elder Hua from Celestial Palace, then she would take away all the celestial jade bones in his body. The other party would be eroded by the aura of the graveyard of immortals and become like a living dead. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu's face instantly turned pale and terrified. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice came from the direction she left. Fang Jingyu, I'll fulfill your request and let you go. In addition, I have a big gift for you. The ending you imagined for me before, I prepared it for you. Just enjoy it. No need to thank me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, her figure suddenly flashed and completely disappeared in front of Fang Jingyu. The moment she leaped away, Fang Jingyu clearly saw that the white light emitted from Luo Qingtong's body disappeared, completely disappeared in front of her, and Luo Qingtong's voice showed that she had actually just left. What did this mean? Fang Jingyu's face became more and more frightened and incredulous. Luo Qingtong actually succeeded in cultivating. It was that technique. It was that technique that neutralized the aura of the holy book in Luo Qingtong's body. Luo Qingtong could actually cultivate the unique technique of the Beast Taming King Valley. What kind of monster was she? Fang Jingyu's face full of horror and regret. Only now did she realize how stupid she had been in the past. She thought that Luo Qingtong was nothing special and that she could easily kill her. But she didn't know that she was provoking a sleeping phoenix. When the phoenix awoke and spread its wings, she would be burned to ashes by the phoenix's own glory and flames. Bang! Fang Jingyu's figure was viciously pressed to the ground by the mutated Elder Hua of the Celestial Palace. The latter had completely turned into a walking corpse and was biting viciously at Fang Jingyu. Her sharp nails dug into Fang Jingyu's arm. But this wasn't what made Fang Jingyu feel the most terrified and hopeless. What made her feel the most terrified and hopeless was the other party's steel-like lower body. The words Luo Qingtong said before she left flashed through her mind. Fang Jingyu instantly let out an incomparably shrill scream. That scream was unusually mournful and terrifying. Chapter 2023. Fang Jingyu's screams were mixed with the sound of the wind, as well as some kind of painful groan and chewing sound, spreading far and wide. Among them, there was also an extremely terrifying beast-like roar without a trace of human aura. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. When Fang Jingyu's screams were heard, her figure had already flown hundreds of meters forward. Everything that Fang Jingyu had encountered in this club was the result of her own suffering. She was prepared to use this method to deal with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong could only use this method to deal with her. It would also save her from being dissatisfied with her own end, wasn't it? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. When that Elder Hua fainted, Luo Qingtong had already given him an aphrodisiac. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also took away all the immortal jade bones in his body. Of course, for many cultivators, in order to prevent others from secretly harming them, their immortal jade bones would be placed very secretively. It was very difficult to be stolen and discovered, and they would be placed in several places. But this was not a problem for Luo Qingtong at all. She easily took out all the immortal jade bones in that celestial palace elder Hua's body through her blood eyes. It was also because of this that the celestial palace elder Hua's expression was so shocked and desperate at that time, because he had already thought of what would happen to him later. That was to be eroded to death by the aura of the graveyard of immortals. However, he did not know that Luo Qingtong did this not to let him die miserably. She wanted to use him a deal with Fang Jingyu. Fang Jingyu thought that she was smart and made Luo Qingtong swear that after she told her everything, she would not do anything to her and could only let her go. However, before Luo Qingtong was ready to ask, she already knew that Fang Jingyu would definitely use this opportunity to threaten her, and she was willing to give her this opportunity. After all, only by giving Fang Jingyu hope would she be able to tell the truth one by one. Wasn't that right? He had given her hope to live, and then he had shattered it all. To Fang Jingyu, this was more painful and despairing than any other punishment. Not to mention, not only had she told Luo Qingtong everything she knew, she had also helped her conceal the aura of the holy book. This alone was enough to make Fang Jingyu unable to rest in peace. Luo Qingtong had never been a kind person. Those who wanted her dead, she would retaliate with methods that were 100 times more ruthless. In a world where the strong were respected, kindness could not protect oneself and the people around you. Only blood could. Therefore, everyone who wanted to take her life had to die. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She flitted through the land of the fallen immortals. At this time, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace lost track of her and were too lazy to bother with the people from the Sky Branch. Let's go. Beast Tamer King Guguju's voice was cold. His gaze swept across the people from the Sky Branch, and he ordered the people around him, keep an eye on them. Luo Qingtong has a close relationship with them. She might come looking for them. Also, they might know the route of the treasure map. Don't let any suspicious signs slip by. Yes, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley heard the order, and in an instant, some of them disappeared. Chapter 2024. Cooperation. The Celestial Palace Lord was surprised. He looked at the Beast Tamer King Guguju. What was the other party planning? They actually wanted to cooperate with the Celestial Palace? The Celestial Zenith Palace Master had a cautious expression. He looked at the Beast Tamer King Guguju suspiciously and said, "What's the reason for cooperation?" Beast Tamer King Guguju, with the strength of your Beast Tamer King Valley, you don't need to cooperate with us, right? Even if they had the same enemy. And Luo Qingtong was most likely backed by the Sky Yuan sect. But this shouldn't be the reason for the Beast Tamer King Valley to cooperate with them. With the strength of the Beast Tamer King Valley, they didn't need to be afraid of the Sky Yuan sect. Humph, I naturally have my reasons for saying this. The Beast Tamer King Guguju said while gritting his teeth. The reason why he said this was because Luo Qingtong spied on their holy book and learned the secret of the Broken Star Valley. If she spread this news, it would be troublesome. So the Beast Tamer King Guguju wanted to cooperate with the Celestial Palace and get the things inside as soon as possible, especially the 5th Beast Tamer secret art, as long as they could get that secret art. The Beast Tamer King Valley's Beast Tamer secret art would be eliminated. At that time, their strength combined with the strength of their contracted beasts would reach a whole new level. For the Beast Tamer King Valley, this was a major event related to the future development of the sect, and also a major event related to their own strength. Naturally, they couldn't be careless. I need the help of the Celestial Palace. We need to get something together. As long as the people of the Celestial Palace agree to cooperate, then our previous grievances will be written off. Not only that, after we get Luo Qingtong's treasure map, the people of the Beast Tamer King Valley can also bring you into the Forbidden Area. At that time,
We'll rely on our own abilities to get the treasure. Beast Tamer King Guguju's words were a promise to the Celestial Palace Master that he was willing to share Luo Qingtong's treasure map with them. In this way, even if they could not obtain the treasure indicated on the treasure map, the other benefits would be enough for the people of Celestial Palace to enjoy. Not to mention, they still had the chance to seize the treasure. With that in mind, the Celestial Palace Master immediately agreed. Sure, we from Celestial Palace are willing to cooperate with you. All right. The Beast Tamer King Guguju looked very satisfied. With the help of the Celestial Palace, he might be able to get the 5th part of the animal taming incantation from the Broken Stars Valley. After all, the previous few times, they were only a little bit off. Once they got the 5th beast taming incantation, they wouldn't have to worry about Luo Qingtong leaking the existence of the Broken Star Valley. With that in mind, the Beast Tamer King Guguju immediately led them and the people of the Beast Tamer King Valley to the Broken Star Valley. After they left, the people of the Sky Yuan sect also prepared to move on. At this moment, Chun Tong suddenly looked at Su Yu and the others and said, "Wait, are they going to part ways with us?" With that, he looked at Su Yu and the others with a cold snort and said, "And those celestial jade bones they have, I'm afraid they have to return them to the Sky Yuan sect. After all, Luo Qingtong is not here. She can't fulfill her agreement with us." Chapter 2025. Chun Tong's words instantly enraged the Grand Supreme Dean. "Chun Tong, what do you mean by that?" "What do I mean?" He looked at Su Yu and the others and raised his voice. "What I mean is, Luo Qingtong told us that she would help us solve the hidden danger of the Forbidden Area's power, and then we would help her take care of the people around her, right? But now, she can't even protect herself. She might not even be able to get out of the land of the fallen immortals alive. How can we take care of these people for her? Not to mention that we have to support their immortal jade bones. Why? These immortal jade bones were obtained by the disciples of the Sky Yuan sect. It's not for some people to use as a favor." As Chun Tong spoke, he looked coldly at the Grand Supreme Dean and said, "Zhu Yi, I know that Luo Qingtong is your student, but a favor is a favor, and a deal is a deal. You can't use our Sky Yuan sect things to do a favor for your reputation, right?" Chun Tong's words could be said to be a very merciless criticism. At this moment, he felt an indescribable exaltation in his heart. Originally, although he was unhappy that Luo Qingtong had helped the Grand Supreme Dean win back the position of the Sky Yuan sect's chief disciple, there was nothing he could do about it. But this was good. Luo Qingtong had offended people from the Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace, and was being hunted down by these two sects. Not to mention that it was basically impossible for her to leave the land of the fallen immortals alive. Even if she could survive after leaving the land of the fallen immortals, would the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace let her go? Therefore, her deal with the Sky Yuan sect could be said to be completely invalid. In that case, what was he afraid of? Without Luo Qingtong's ability, the elders of the Sky Yuan sect might not help them like before. Sure enough, after hearing his words, many elders of the Sky Yuan sect frowned. That's right, Luo Qingtong was unlikely to fulfill her promise with them. In that case, they didn't need to provide Su Yu and the others with immortal jade bones. After all, this wasn't a small amount. With that thought in mind, many elders stood on Chun Tong's side. Seeing this, the latter immediately put on a smug look. Did you see that? That was what everyone thought as well. So, Zhu Yi, if you must do them a favor, then use your own immortal jade bones to support them, right? Don't use the sect's interests for personal gain. The moment Chun Tong's words left his mouth, the Grand Supreme Dean was about to explode from anger. He was using the sect's benefits for personal gain. These people didn't even know how this deal came about. Did they really think that Luo Qingtong had taken advantage of them with these immortal jade bones? That was because they had taken advantage of others, all right? Purifying immortal jade bones. If it weren't for the fact that they had to protect that girl and were afraid that revealing too much of her abilities would be detrimental to her, How could they possibly tell the outside world that it was because Luo Qingtong had promised to dissolve the mysterious power of the Forbidden Zone for them? So they had taken care of Su Yu and the others for her, and even provided them with immortal jade bones? A bunch of idiots. Luo Qingtong's ability to purify immortal jade bones was extremely rare. They didn't even know that they had taken advantage of her. Because Luo Qingtong was in trouble, they wanted to burn the bridge after crossing it. The Grand Supreme Dean pointed at the group of people who supported Chun Tong with trembling fingers. He was about to curse out loud and reveal the truth. At this moment, Bai Suqing stood up. Wait. Chapter 2026. She emphasized her words, and at the same time, signaled her father to keep quiet. The sectmaster of the Sky Yuan sect frowned when Chun Tong spoke. When a group of elders stood out to speak for Chun Tong, he was ready to stand out and announce the real deal to the public. However, he did not expect his daughter to stop him. He looked at Bai Suqing with a helpless expression. He roughly knew what she was going to do. This daughter of his, she had always been fierce, and she had a clear distinction between love and hate. If she was good, she was good. If she was not good, she was not good. She liked Luo Qingtong, and the latter had saved her life, restored her cultivation, and brought Zhu Yi back to her side. She would definitely stand on that girl's side. As for those who helped Chun Tong and wanted to burn the bridge after crossing the river, his daughter would not let them off. They would regret it. He shook his head as he thought about it. These people were too eager for quick success. When they saw that Luo Qingtong was useless, they wanted to abandon Su Yu and the others. Who knew that the deal between Luo Qingtong and them was not what they had expected? Forget it. Let them be taught a lesson. It was also good to let them know that the decisions they had made were not to be easily questioned. The sectmaster of the Sky Yuan sect did not speak anymore, and he just watched from the side. After Bai Suqing spoke, Chun Tong immediately said, "Of course. Luo Qingtong can't even protect herself now, so the deal is invalid. I believe that everyone has the same thought as me. They are not willing to work for others." All right. Bai Suqing looked at him and sneered. In that case, the deal has become a favor, right? Luo Qingtong promised us before. She will help us if she wants to, and she will not help us if she doesn't want to. Right? That's right. Chun Tong agreed, and he looked at Bai Suqing with a puzzled expression. Why did she say this? Could it be that Luo Qingtong could run out and continue to fulfill the deal with them? That was impossible. If she were to appear, the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wouldn't let her off. She couldn't even protect herself, so how could she care about this? As he thought about it, Chun Tong immediately confirmed the idea in his heart. Bai Suqing must be deliberately mystifying them. She wanted them to feel that there was a trap and deliberately retreat. Do you want to use this method to protect Luo Qingtong? Chun Tong sneered and agreed without the slightest hesitation. All right. Bai Suqing looked at him and nodded. Then, she turned to the others and said, "Is there anyone on your side who thinks the same as him? Step forward." After everyone who supported Chun Tong stood out, Bai Suqing finally spoke to Su Yu and the others. All right, the deal between the Sky Yuan sect and your master is invalid. Now, you can give the purified celestial jade bones to whoever you want. Those who don't want to trade with you, don't give them a single piece. As soon as Bai Suqing said this, Chun Tong and the people who supported him were stunned. What did you say? Chun Tong looked at Bai Suqing in disbelief. What did Bai Suqing just say? I said the deal is invalid. Bai Suqing snorted coldly when she saw their disbelief. Isn't this what you want? Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. Previously, in order to protect Luo Qingtong, we concealed the fact that the purified celestial jade bones were provided by her. Therefore, in addition to resolving the power of the restricted area, for us, Luo Qingtong actually provided us with the purified celestial jade bones in exchange for us to take care of Su Yu and the others and provide them with the celestial jade bones. Of course, you are not willing to provide them with the celestial jade bones. Chapter 2027.
Chun Tong and the others almost fainted when they heard what Bai Suqing said. What did she say? The purifying celestial jade bones were provided by Luo Qingtong. The reason why Su Yu and the others stayed in the Sky Yuan sect team was not to take advantage of the Sky Yuan sect, as they thought. It was the Grand Supreme Dean who purposely took advantage of the Sky Yuan sect's benefits to do a favor for himself, in exchange for the purifying celestial jade bones. Everyone was shocked. They did not know what kind of stupid thing they had done. The purifying celestial jade bones, in exchange for some celestial jade bones and a chance for Su Yu and the others to stay in the Sky Yuan sect. No matter how they looked at it, this was a good deal. If it were not for the Grand Supreme Dean, Luo Qingtong would not have told the Sky Yuan sect about this, let alone make a deal with them. But now, they had forcefully rejected this deal. Everyone was dumbfounded for a while, and they felt as if the world was spinning around them. Qingtong was even more confused. He thought that he could take advantage of Luo Qingtong's predicament to make a move on Su Yu and the others. Without the protection of the Sky Yuan sect, and without enough celestial jade bones, how could they survive in the graveyard of immortals? However, who would have thought that he would be slapped in the face after 3 seconds of complacency? The person who slapped him in the face was none other than Luo Qingtong, who was not even here. Using the purifying celestial jade bones in exchange for a chance for Su Yu and the others to stay in the Sky Yuan sect, as well as a supply of celestial jade bones. Who would dare to say that they were taking advantage of the Sky Yuan sect? This was clearly letting the Sky Yuan sect take advantage of them. Oh my God! Qingtong was completely dumbfounded. He did not expect things to turn out this way. If he had not created such a mess, he would have been able to enjoy the purifying celestial jade bones as well. Because Luo Qingtong had made a deal with the entire Sky Yuan sect. But now it was all over. He had cut off this opportunity himself. It was he who could not wait and had threatened and forced them to cut off this opportunity. He did not even have the chance to accuse the Grand Supreme Dean and the others of taking revenge on him, because he was the one who had caused this matter. Not only that, but he had also dragged a group of people down with him. Chun Tong saw the people around him were looking at him, especially the few elders who were persuaded by him and stood on his side, looking at him with resentful gazes. He instantly rolled his eyes and fainted. There was no other reason than because he had dragged so many people he had been dragged down with him. It was because he had caused the Sky Yuan sect, was in the cleansing celestial jade sect, because the Grand Supreme Dean and the others had it. In the future, Chun Tong's days in the Heavenly Yuan sect would definitely be tough. Not only after he fainted, Bai Suqing coldly snorted. She looked at Su Yu and the others and said, "Fortunately, your master was considerate and put those purified immortal jade bones on you. We agreed that if you were treated unfairly, the transaction would be canceled immediately." Qingtong is a fool. He thought he could deal with you and force you into a desperate situation. But he didn't know that this was all part of that girl's plan. She can't wait for him to cause trouble. She can torture him to death. Bai Suqing also felt very comfortable in her heart. Chapter 2028. Especially those who targeted the Grand Supreme Dean and Luo Qingtong. Now it was finally peaceful, and they didn't have to share the purified, immortal jade bones with them. It really made people vent their anger, especially those who stood on Qingtong's side. Most of them were on his side, or they didn't get along with her father's opinions. She took the opportunity to deal with them all, and she didn't have to be labeled as someone who eliminated dissidents, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Her father was soft-hearted, but she wasn't. She would deal with all these people, so that no more trouble would happen during this trip to the graveyard of immortals. What happened to Zhu Yi in the graveyard of immortals couldn't happen again. The Grand Supreme Dean was dumbfounded as he watched from the side. You guys, he raised his finger and pointed at Bai Suqing. Then, he turned his head and pointed at Su Yu and the others. Then, he lowered his voice and shouted, "Have you all planned this?" To think that he was so angry just now. Didn't these people know to tell him? Not really. Bai Suqing looked at him and said, Qing Tong was afraid that Qin Tong would cause trouble, so she specifically said that before she left. But we didn't expect that before we could do anything, he would seek his own death. She suggested that the deal be cancelled, and they didn't fulfill his wish. They felt sorry for themselves. Not only did it save them trouble, but it also made them take the blame. What else could she say when she was full of hatred? That stinky girl. She can't even stop after she left. The Grand Supreme Dean heard this and muttered in his heart. Then, he couldn't help but sigh. Sigh, do you think something will happen to that girl? My heart, Sigh. As he spoke, he let out a heavy sigh. Bai Suqing, Su Yu, and the rest were all silent. No one knew if something would happen to Luo Qingtong. There were dangers everywhere in the graveyard of immortals, not to mention the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace waiting to deal with Luo Qingtong. And the latter wasn't in the same place as them. Even if they wanted to help, they couldn't. At this moment, Su Xiaoxiao's voice suddenly sounded. Boss will be fine. She'll be fine, she said firmly, so we have to work hard to improve our strength. When we find Boss, we can protect her by her side. As soon as her voice rang out, everyone's spirits were lifted. That's right, that girl is blessed by the heavens. Nothing will happen to her. Let's go. Let's see if we can find her in this fallen, immortal land. The Grand Principal said. Su Yu and the others also nodded their heads and said, That's right. Master's ability is extraordinary. He will definitely be fine. Moreover, there was still Ming Zun outside. When everyone thought of Yi Qianxian, they immediately calmed down. Ming Zun would definitely not let anything happen to Master. They couldn't sense Master's safety, but Ming Zun definitely could. At that time, if something happened to his master, he would definitely cause a huge commotion, even if he had to go against the entire land of the deceased immortals. As they thought of this, everyone's hearts were filled with confidence. They followed the Sky Yuan Sect team into the depths of the land of the deceased immortals. They had to work hard to improve their strength. They definitely wouldn't let down the opportunity Luo Qingtong created for them. Chapter 2029. Bang! Luo Qingtong sent a figure flying out of the ground with her sword. Her blood-red eyes had been open ever since she entered the land of the deceased immortals. As soon as she reached this place, she felt that there was a black shadow following her from underground. She purposely paused, and the black shadow rushed out from the ground. It was sent flying by Luo Qingtong's sword, which she had been ready to attack. Bang! The dark shadow fell heavily to the ground. Luo Qingtong saw that it was a corpse covered in green hair. The corpse's face was stiff and greenish-black, and its skin was like gold and iron. The green hair covered its body like a layer of green armor. What is this? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She leaped up and nailed the green-haired corpse to the ground with a single blow. The green-haired corpse roared and tried to get up from the ground, but Luo Qingtong accurately smashed its heart. Luo Qingtong wiped the life and death duality sword in her hand. She looked up at the corpse and saw that its clothes were very strange. It didn't look like someone from the hidden world, or even someone from the true Spill continent. It's someone from the outer realms. At this moment, Little Pig jumped onto Luo Qingtong's shoulder. It looked at the green-haired corpse on the ground. It's a corpse of a powerhouse from the outer realms who was eroded by the death energy and evil energy in the land of the deceased immortals. Little Pig said with certainty, the opponent's strength should be above the venerable realm. Otherwise, the corpse wouldn't have been able to survive for so long without rotting. Generally, the corpses that died in the land of the deceased immortals would be affected by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals. They would be eroded and become part of the death energy and evil energy in the land of the deceased immortals. The corpse that was controlled by the blood-red, immortal Jadebone was like this. It was seriously rotten, but powerhouses above the venerable realm were different. They had already glimpsed a trace of the essence of the laws. Even after death, the aura around their bodies could prevent their bodies from decaying. Under the corrosion of the aura of the fallen immortal land,
It was equivalent to completing the corpse refining process and being directly transformed into corpses. The strength of these corpses was not as strong as the main body. They only had about 1/10 of the main body's strength. But the terrifying thing was that they could instinctively use the martial arts and skills they had when they were alive. Moreover, they had no sense of pain, which made them very difficult to deal with in battle. The green-furred corpse Luo Qingtong encountered was probably around the Saint King realm. However, the strength it could unleash was above that of regular Saint Kings. If it hadn't encountered Luo Qingtong, even a peak Saint Emperor would have died under its sneak attack. And as the number of people the corpse killed increased, its strength would also continue to increase. In the end, it would turn around and become even more powerful than the original body when it was alive. It was not impossible. After hearing Little Pig's words, Luo Qingtong immediately understood what was going on with this corpse. At first, she thought it was the same as the blood-red corpse that was controlled by the blood-red immortal jade bone. She was still vigilantly waiting for the blood-red shadow to pounce out. Unexpectedly, it wasn't like that. This green-furred corpse was a different kind of existence. However, there were really many strange things in the land of the deceased immortals. Chapter 2030. However, this harvest was also real. Luo Qingtong looked at the treasure she got from the green-haired corpse and raised her eyebrows. These foreign experts were powerful, so they naturally had a lot of good things on them. Although many things have been corroded by the aura of the graveyard of immortals and the passage of time, many things have been damaged. However, there were still some things left. Luo Qingtong put away the treasures that were damaged in different ways. These things were all treasures above the venerable realm. Even if they were damaged, they were still more powerful than ordinary Sage Realm treasures. Luo Qingtong was going to take all these treasures back and give them to Su Yu and Master Luo. If these treasures could be repaired and restored to their original power, it would be even better. However, this was a matter for the future. Luo Qingtong did not think about it for the time being. After putting away these treasures, she looked at the green-haired corpse again. The other party was turned into a corpse in the graveyard of immortals. What if the corpse puppet was originally a corpse? Under the aura of the graveyard of immortals, could it be greatly improved? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong released the corpse puppet of the great young saint in her hands. This corpse puppet of the great young saint was refined into a corpse by Feng Wan's blood. It was very fierce and violent. Luo Qingtong did not dare to release it casually, in case it was not under her control and brought disaster to the world. However, with the improvement of her strength, this corpse puppet was useless, so it had been kept in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Now, she could use the aura of the graveyard of immortals to continue refining and improving it. After all, it was very difficult to find such a place full of death aura and evil aura. Not to mention, the death aura and evil aura contained in this place were very strong. They were all transformed from the essence of the foreign experts after they died. It was very beneficial for the corpse puppet to refine corpses. Swish! Luo Qingtong released the corpse puppet of the great young saint. After the latter came out, he immediately sensed the dense death chi and evil chi in the land of the fallen immortals. He immediately roared excitedly. Then, it instinctively pounced on the green-haired corpse in front of Luo Qingtong and sucked away all the energy in its body. Then Luo Qingtong saw its strength increase rapidly. It reached the peak of the Holy General Realm and was close to the Holy Marquis Realm. All right, Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. Sure enough, the corpse puppet of the great young saint could easily grow in this environment. Just like that, he rose to the level of a holy general. Once it killed a few more powerful corpses, its strength would continue to increase. At that thought, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. With this corpse puppet of a great young saint, he would have a powerful helper in this graveyard of immortals. This corpse puppet could play a huge role, and it was not something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Luo Qingtong let the corpse puppet of the great young saint leave by itself to hunt corpses nearby. Then, she went into the hole made by the green-haired corpse. Below the hole was a huge underground lair. The green-haired corpse usually hid below, waiting for an opportunity to attack passing practitioners. When Luo Qingtong found it, she had already seen this huge lair. Chapter 2031. Thinking about it, this was quite normal. That green-furred corpse was a zombie-like existence. It couldn't poop or piss, and it didn't need to eat. Hunting cultivators were usually finished off on the surface. Therefore, it wasn't surprising that this underground lair was so clean. After wandering around and discovering that there were no hidden dangers, Luo Qingtong prepared to enter seclusion to cultivate and refine the blood, immortal jade bone in her hand. You stay here and guard it. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she sealed the hole above her head. With the corpse puppet of the great young sage above and below, Luo Qingtong felt that she could cultivate in peace. For a short period of time, there shouldn't be anything that could disturb her. Okay. Little Pig nodded seriously, which was rare for him. It was very dangerous for Luo Qingtong to increase her strength in the land of the deceased immortals. Little Pig naturally had to protect her well. After all, Luo Qingtong's increase in strength was also very beneficial to him. His seal would be lifted in the future, and he would have to depend on Luo Qingtong. He had had enough of this pink little pig's body. Also, take care of the corpse puppet of the great young sage outside. Don't let it be killed by others. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she gave half of the connection to the corpse puppet of the great young sage to Little Pig. Little Pig was connected to her mind, so he easily took over the control. Okay, I got it. You can refine that immortal jade bone, Little Pig said to Luo Qingtong. His little pink hoof stepped on Luo Qingtong's body. Then he said to her, "Oh, right, you should also release that little golden mouse. That fellow is an expert at searching for treasures. It's rare to come to the land of the deceased immortals. If you don't take advantage of the treasures here, are you waiting for others to benefit?" As he spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong smugly and said, "Let it go up there with that corpse puppet. If it has nothing to do, it can kill corpses and search for treasures. Don't waste it." Luo Qingtong also thought that this was reasonable, and she immediately released the little golden mouse. As soon as the gold-seeking hamster came out, it hugged her hair and rubbed against her cheek. Creak, creak. Big treasure, big treasure. That's enough. Bring back the other treasures first, then you can freeload. As Little Pig spoke, he immediately used his little hoof to pick up the little gold mouse. The latter squeaked and protested resolutely. It was rare for it to come out, but it was not allowed to carry the big baby. "Will you bring back those treasures from outside? I'll let you hug me as much as you want." Little Pig slyly said, "A treasure in exchange for a hug." Creak, creak. No, at least twice. The little golden mouse waved its little claws and bargained with it. Luo Qingtong watched their interaction and her lips twitched. This guy actually used her to sell her body. However, the little gold mouse obviously liked this. After she bargained with Little Pig for a while, they reached an agreement. A treasure in exchange for 2 hugs, and she could come out to play when she had nothing to do. In an instant, the little gold mouse happily dug a hole and ran out of the ground. It wanted to unleash its primordial power and create a precious land for its precious treasure. Beast taming King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master were the first to rush out. Their faces were unsightly, especially the Celestial Palace Master. He had promised Beast taming King Guguju to come and get something for them, but he did not expect it to be so dangerous inside. How was this asking them to come and help? This was clearly asking them to die. Chapter 2033. He had almost died in there. As for the beast tamer, King Guguju, there was no need to even mention him. This time, he proposed to cooperate with the master of the Celestial Palace. He thought that it would be easy for him to enter the palace and take out the 5th beast taming incantation. Who would have thought that there would be such a thing in the depths of a cave? Furthermore, it was overwhelming. Almost all of them had been left behind in there. He looked at the last few people in the Broken Star Valley with an ugly face, dying miserably in front of him. Every corpse had either been bitten beyond recognition or had their stomachs ripped open. No one knew what had viciously scratched them to death. Then these corpses stood up shakily in front of them. They dragged their broken limbs and intestines, which were almost all over the ground, and slowly walked inside. The people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace felt their blood run cold. One had to know that the immortal jade bones in their bodies were still intact. It was impossible for them to be corroded to this extent by the aura of the fallen immortal land. It was done by those things inside. That frightening thing. Beast Tamer King Guguju, I'm afraid that the people of Celestial Palace won't be able to help you. Goodbye. The owner of Celestial Palace looked at those corpses staggering into the depths of Broken Stars Valley with a horrified look. He then turned around and was about to leave with his subordinates. Hold on. The Beast Tamer King Guguju looked at him and coldly shouted, Master of the Celestial Palace, if you want to help someone, help them to the end. Since your people from the Celestial Palace have already agreed to help us, and you've already paid such a huge price to enter, wouldn't it be a pity to give up now? We, the Beast Taming King's Valley, are willing to promise that if you help us obtain that item, we, the Beast Taming King's Valley, will help you people from the Celestial Palace form contracts with demonic beasts in the future. I'll give you a fixed quota every year. How about that? Beast Tamer King Guguju, the master of Celestial Palace, looked furious. This isn't a matter of promises. Those things are in there. With just us alone, it's impossible for us to shake them. How can we help you obtain the things inside? The Celestial Palace Master was also moved by Guguju's promise. With the help of the Beast Taming King Valley, only a few dozen people would be able to form contracts with demonic beasts. For the people of Celestial Palace, how much of a boost would that be? However, no matter how great the increase in strength was, the people of Celestial Palace had to be alive to take it. Those terrible things in there. If the people of Celestial Palace wanted to help the people of Beast Taming King's Valley obtain the items inside, they didn't know what kind of price they would have to pay. Even if all of them were to fill in, it might not be possible. Under such circumstances, even if the Beast Taming King's Valley were to offer them a huge reward, he wouldn't dare to accept it. Seeing that the people of Celestial Palace were about to retreat, the Beast Tamer King Guguju gritted his teeth. We, the Beast Taming King's Valley, will gather people from all over to help. When the time comes, the other sects will act together. The pressure on us will be a lot less. Let them restrain those things outside, and we'll go inside to get those things. If we're fast enough, we should be able to do it. Hearing his words, the master of Celestial Palace suddenly stopped in his tracks. Chapter 2034. What the other party said couldn't be what he was thinking, could it? Before he could finish his words, Beast Tamer King Guguju had already seen through his thoughts. He nodded and said, That's exactly what you're thinking. We'll use people from other sects as cannon fodder to attract the attention of those things. We'll take the opportunity to rush to the innermost area. Beast Tamer King Guguju's face was grim. It was basically impossible for sects above the 3rd class to come and help them, because those people were busy improving their strength and looking for opportunities in the land of the deceased immortals. However, it was possible for 3rd class and below sects to come, because they might not be able to gain much in the land of the deceased immortals. If they could build a relationship with those sects, they would be happy to come and help them. At that time, they would use those people to attract the attention of those terrible things. As long as there were enough people, they would definitely be able to reduce the number of those things. At that time, they could take the opportunity to break through. Beast Tamer King Guguju was determined to get the 5th part of the Beast Tamer incantation from the Shattered Star Valley. He didn't know why, but ever since he knew that the Holy Book was spied on and the location of the Shattered Star Valley was known to Luo Qingtong, he was always frightened. He was afraid that Luo Qingtong would do something that would ruin their plan to get the fifth part of the Beast Tamer incantation. Therefore, he was not going to wait any longer. Anyway, Luo Qingtong already knew the location of the Shattered Star Valley. She could reveal it to the public at any time. In that case, what was the point of hiding it? The most important thing was to gather everyone and take out the things inside. Thinking of this, he immediately said to the master of Celestial Palace, "In this way, the losses on both sides will be minimized. You people from Celestial Palace only need to help us at the last moment. What do you think?" Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's words made the master of Celestial Palace feel a rush of excitement. If that was the case, it was indeed a rare opportunity for the Celestial Palace. As he thought about it, he immediately nodded and said, "Yes, if there are enough people, we of Celestial Palace can continue to help you." As long as the people of Celestial Palace were not sacrificed, it did not matter to them how many people died. Moreover, those people who entered the land of the fallen immortals should have been prepared to die. It didn't matter if he was killed or used to death. All right, Beast Tamer King Gu Guju nodded and immediately ordered his men to make arrangements. Beside him, Eldarin and the others did not say anything. The beast-taming King Gu Guju was right. The fifth beast-taming law must be taken out. As for the location of the Broken Star Valley, it didn't matter if it was exposed. Anyway, when Luo Qingtong pried the Holy Book, the location of the Broken Star Valley was no longer secret. As long as he could get the incantation, everything would be worth it. While the people of Beast Tamer Valley were spreading the news of the Broken Star Valley, waiting for other people to come to the land of the fallen immortals, in the underground cave where Luo Qingtong was, bang! At the place where the young girl was sitting, an extremely tyrannical burst of energy suddenly erupted from the place where the girl was sitting. In an instant, the walls of the cave around her made a series of puff, puff, puff sounds. Countless small holes appeared in the walls. The powerful energy poured into the holes was extremely sharp, and no one knew how many meters it extended into the walls. The soil above Luo Qingtong's head was completely penetrated. Chapter 2035. Bang! A shattering sound suddenly erupted from within her body. Then, as if something was being generated from within her body, a powerful and frightening power suddenly erupted from within her body. Bang! The entire underground layer shook violently from the explosion in Luo Qingtong's body. A tyrannical force that was completely different from the Saint King realm suddenly shone brightly from within Luo Qingtong's body like a scorching sun. Saint Emperor realm. Feeling the new force in her body, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. Finally, she took another step forward. She was a little closer to that man. Her eyes shone brightly and shone brightly. In this enclosed dark space, her eyes were extremely bright and dazzling. Beside her, Little Pig also hopped up to her. Hey, 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 Master, you've broken through." It looked happily at the fierce aura emanating from Luo Qingtong's body. Because she had just broken through, Luo Qingtong's aura had not been completely restrained. That exposed sharpness was as sharp as a sword. In this enclosed underground layer, it cut in all directions. Yes. Luo Qingtong looked at it and nodded. Then she asked, "How long did I break through?" Although in her heart, she estimated that it would not take too long this time. After all, the power in this blood-colored celestial jade bone was extraordinarily pure, and the power of blood chi was also very strong. It was enough for Luo Qingtong to raise her strength level in a short period of time without needing to replenish her energy to fill the gap in her cultivation level. However, Luo Qingtong still asked to avoid missing too much time in the land of the deceased immortals. One had to know that the aura in the forbidden area would weaken enough for people to enter in at most 7 days. For days, Little Pig said. It also knew that Luo Qingtong was worried, so it took no the time. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Then, she said to Little Pig, "Continue to guard here. I'll go see Qianren." Thinking of the man who could not enter from outside,
Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. Her mental strength entered the 9 Netherworld Phoenix ring on her left ring finger. Because of the unique aura in the land of the deceased immortals, Yi Qianqian's soul could not appear by her side through the connection between the 9 Netherworld Phoenix ring and the 10-sided dragon ring. After all, that man's soul was a great supplement to the aura of death in the land of the deceased immortals. Who knew how many evil beings would covet it? The entire land of the deceased immortals. The entire land of the deceased immortals. However, even if Yi Qianren couldn't come in, it didn't mean that Luo Qingtong couldn't go out to see him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up, and she closed her eyes. Her mental strength followed the connection of a 9 Phoenix ring on her left ring finger and extended to the 10-directional dragon ring. Whoosh! Outside the land of the deceased immortals, Yi Qianxian stood on top of a mountain with his hands behind his back. He looked at the scene in front of him. At this moment, the 10-sided dragon ring on his left ring finger suddenly moved. Soon after, a small figure rushed out from within. Qianren, Luo Qingtong's little face was smiling. She was both charming and cute. She looked at the man's face close to her and pounced on him. It's been so many days. Did you miss me? Chapter 2036. That small and soft hand was not even as big as Yi Qianqian's lips. The latter seemed to have sensed something when the Shifang dragon ring moved. When Luo Qingtong pounced on him, he had already removed the protection around his body. He even waved his sleeves to support Luo Qingtong so that she would not fall from his body. Why did you suddenly come out? Yi Qianxian looked at the small person in front of him. The soft and real touch on his lips put him in a very good mood. Luo Qingtong's 9 Nether Phoenix ring and his Shifang dragon ring were connected. Even if Luo Qingtong was only a soul, the feeling of kissing was the same as a real kiss. Even when he touched the girl, he could feel the same warmth and softness. It was just that Luo Qingtong's figure was too small. Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong's small body and his eyes darkened. After kissing her back, he immediately wrapped her in his palm and asked her in a hoarse voice. Did she miss him? Yi Qianxian thought that Luo Qingtong might have specially come out of the land of the deceased immortals to see him because she missed him. He was very happy. Luo Qingtong did not let him down. She smiled and said, "Of course it's because I miss you." Luo Qingtong had never been a pretentious person. Since she was already with Yi Qianxian, she naturally would not be stingy to let him know her feelings for him. At that moment, she openly told him how much she missed Yi Qianren. When Yi Qianxian heard this, the corners of his lips curled up. The depth of his eyes, as well as the coldness and sharpness of his blade, were all retracted. Looking at the little girl sitting in his palm, his gaze was indescribably gentle and soft, carrying a doting and protective care that could drown a person to death. This sovereign also misses you very much. It was rare for Yi Qianren's ears to turn slightly red when she said this. He rarely made public the love in his heart. His love for Luo Qingtong had always been silent and restrained. He did more than he said. He could violate many of his principles and pride for Luo Qingtong. But the words of love he said to Luo Qingtong could be said with one hand. His innate pride and nobility made it difficult for him to say anything pleasant and humble in front of Luo Qingtong. But in the process of getting along with the girl, he almost instinctively lowered his status to cater to her and let her be unbridled. All of his pride and principles, all of his persistence and arrogance, they were all broken for her. When Yi Qianxian spoke, Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up with a smile. She liked the way Yi Qianxian doted on her. It made her feel like she was placed in the palm of his hand, loved and tolerated at all costs. This feeling was very fascinating. If it was said that Luo Qingtong's initial desire for Yi Qianren was due to her yearning for the power in this world, she instinctively wanted to take this man for herself. However, she was afraid that he would not be under her control, so she purposely stayed away from him. But now, Luo Qingtong had truly fallen in love with Yi Qianxian. Apart from grandfather Luo,
This man was the most tolerant and doting person in the world for her. But Grandfather Luo's kindness was mostly because of the original owner. Chapter 2037. He fell in love with her because she was Luo Qi. She was herself. That was why he chose to be with her. From the beginning to the end, Yi Qianxian only saw her, the supreme ocular sorcerer from the 24th century. Luo Qingtong thought about it and kissed Yi Qianxian on the cheek. Then, she said with a smile, "My strength has broken through to the Holy Emperor realm." She briefly explained what happened in the land of the deceased immortals. Then, she said, "I have the corpse puppet of the great young sage following me. You don't have to worry. Its strength is increasing very quickly. It shouldn't take long for it to become stronger than me." Yi Qianxian nodded. He supported the girl's mini form with one hand so that she could lean on his cheek. His face was expressionless, and he didn't say anything. He could pick up Luo Qingtong at any time. But if he did so, the land of the deceased immortals would collapse and disappear because of his interference. Therefore, he wouldn't do it unless he had no other choice. He also wouldn't interfere with Luo Qingtong's training in the land of the deceased immortals. The girl didn't want to stay under his wing. She wanted to become stronger and stand shoulder to shoulder with him. This was one of the processes she had to go through. Yi Qianxian respected her pride and thoughts. Moreover, his young lady was supposed to be someone who stood in the sky with him. The domineering aura on her body had never been inferior to his. Once the young phoenix rose with the wind, it would soar for 90,000 miles. He was waiting for the treasure in his hand, the day when the young phoenix cried and the world shook. "I'll wait for you," he said to Luo Qingtong. "I'll wait for your return." "Of course." Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. The two leaned against each other and talked a lot. Most of the time, it was Luo Qingtong talking and Yi Qianxian listening. The two of them waited quietly. Under the setting sun, Yi Qianxian's figure drew an extremely long and narrow shadow on the mountain peak. Luo Qingtong's small figure stood on his shoulder, supported by one of his hands. She leaned against his cheek, talking and laughing. Time passed slowly and peacefully. Beiqing, Feng Yu, and the others watched from afar and did not come to disturb them. After Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian chatted for a while, her heart suddenly skipped a beat. Someone had touched her body. Luo Qingtong's body was in an underground lair in the land of the deceased immortals. The protective measures were excellent, so no one should be able to touch her body. The only possibility was Little Pig. Was it calling her back? Luo Qingtong's mind raced. After saying goodbye to Yi Qianxian, her figure disappeared. Swoosh! In the underground lair in the land of the deceased immortals, Luo Qingtong's consciousness returned. Her eyes suddenly opened. "What's going on?" She looked at Little Pig beside her. The latter was lying on her body, poking her with its little hooves. The movements that Luo Qingtong sensed just now were all caused by Little Pig. It's that corpse puppet and the little golden mouse. Something happened. Seeing that Luo Qingtong had woken up, Little Pig immediately jumped out of her body. "I sensed something wrong outside. They seem to have been kidnapped." Chapter 2038. And the little golden mouse on his body was also intercepted by someone. It wanted to go out and take a look, but wasn't Luo Qingtong still asleep? It was afraid that something would happen to Luo Qingtong after it left, so it could only wake her up. Anyway, she wanted to talk to that man, and there would be plenty of opportunities after they went out. It was about time to meet him. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly narrowed. "Let's go out and take a look." As she spoke, she directly hugged the little pig and rushed out of the ground. Bang! Somewhere not far from where Luo Qingtong was in seclusion, a group of people were holding weapons and besieging the corpse puppet of the great young saint. I didn't expect our luck to be so good to encounter such a corpse with treasures hanging all over its body. Yeah, there are too many treasures on this corpse. This group of people looked at the treasures hanging on the corpse puppet of the great young saint with a covetous expression.
The little golden mouse was really awesome. With the corpse puppet of the great young saint, it had almost cleared out all the Een corpses in the surrounding dozens of miles. Because it specifically picked the Een corpses with treasures, and most of those Een corpses were relatively strong, the corpse puppet of the great young saint was also very messy after a series of battles. From the clothes on its body, it was impossible to tell that it was a person from the true Spill continent. Of course, even if they could tell, these people probably wouldn't care, because their gazes were all attracted by the dazzling array of treasures on the corpse puppet. With so many treasures, even those people from first-class sex might not be able to obtain them in the land of the fallen immortals if they didn't have a certain amount of luck. Everyone was drooling with desire, and they immediately attacked the corpse puppet of the great young saint with even more strength. Bang, bang, bang. Their attacks heavily bombarded the corpse puppet of the great young saint, splashing sparks and energy in all directions. The corpse puppet of the great young saint had already raised its strength to the level of a saint king during this period of killing Een corpses. It was a corpse puppet refined from a corpse, so it was like a fish in water in the land of the fallen immortals. Moreover, because they were refined into corpses by living relatives, they were even more powerful than ordinary corpse puppets and Een corpses. Even the Een corpses in the land of the fallen immortals were no match for it, unless they were particularly powerful. They could only be suppressed by the ferocious aura emanating from its body. Now that these people's attacks landed on his body, he immediately roared in anger. Roar! He roared furiously like a wild beast, with a tearing sound of metal. Then he suddenly pounced on these people. The little gold mouse popped its head out from his bosom and looked at the crowd that was attacking them with all their might. It squeaked. Its voice was filled with anger. These guys were too evil. It had specially found these things to exchange for hugs for its big baby. These bad guys actually wanted to snatch them away. How could this be? Big Rock beat them up. That's right, the little gold mouse called the corpse puppet Big Rock. Who told him to be as hard as a rock and so powerful? The little gold mouse's voice mixed with the roar of the corpse puppet resounded in the sky. Chapter 2039. Haha, I didn't expect this corpse puppet to have a gold-seeking mouse. This is a very rare treasure. The gold-seeking mouse's function was to search for treasures everywhere. With them, almost no treasure would be missed. This kind of demonic beast was extremely rare in the hidden world. When the people of Celestial Palace obtained it before, they were very careful. They didn't dare to publicize it. Even after Elder Xie and the others were killed, they didn't dare to announce to the world that they were looking for the gold-seeking mouse. First, the news of the treasure map couldn't be exposed. Second, this gold-seeking mouse was precious enough that they didn't dare to publicize it. They thought that after finding the murderer, they would take back the gold-seeking mouse and the treasure map. However, who would have thought that the one who killed Elder Xie and the others would be Luo Qingtong, a girl that they had never put in their eyes and never doubted. Not to mention Luo Qingtong, even the people of true Spill Continent and the people of Celestial Palace had never doubted it. They only thought that the people of the hidden world in true Spill Continent killed Elder Xie, but they didn't know that they were chasing in the wrong direction. In the end, they completely missed the opportunity and didn't find Luo Qingtong at all. After that, they didn't have any more chances. The people besieging the corpse puppet looked at the little golden mouse with surprise. They thought that they had struck it rich. With the little golden mouse, their future gains in the land of the deceased immortals would reach a whole new level. Not only that, but in the hidden world, they wouldn't have to worry about finding treasures to use. However, they didn't think that this little golden mouse would appear here, and that the corpse puppet had so many treasures on it. Obviously, it wasn't a coincidence, but it was raised by someone. But everyone had been dazzled by the dazzling treasures and didn't think of this at all. Even if some people suspected it, who would have thought that the Een corpse in the fallen immortal land would be controlled by someone? No one thought in this direction at all. Even if some people were suspicious, they only felt that it was a little strange and thought that their opportunity had come. That was why they encountered such a strange thing. Everyone worked even harder to attack the corpse puppet. Almost all of them were the Saint King realm, and a few of them were even at the Saint Emperor realm. Their combined might was astonishing. Even though this great young saint's corpse puppet possessed astonishing strength, comparable to a peak sage emperor, and was like a fish in water in the graveyard of immortals, receiving the support of the aura of the graveyard of immortals, it was still forced back by their attacks. His skin, which was as hard as iron, was also cut open by their attacks. Creak, creak, creak. Seeing this scene, the little gold mouse instantly cried out anxiously, "Big Stone, you have to hold on. If you can't hold on, these treasures, along with me, will be snatched away by these people. That won't do. Big baby, come quickly. Someone stole our treasures." The little gold mouse cried out anxiously. It wanted to slip off the corpse puppet's body and leave to find Luo, Qingtong, and Little Pig. However, those people had been keeping an eye on it for a long time. How could they let it leave? As soon as it made a move, someone would target it and force it back. Chapter 2040. Bang! Seeing those people besieging the corpse puppet and forcing it to retreat repeatedly, countless wounds appeared all over its body. Luo Qingtong's gaze was slightly cold. She raised her hand and blasted an attack forward. Boom! The attack landed in front of the corpse puppet of the great young saint. Together with the corpse puppet's attack, it blocked the attacks of those besieging it. With the help of this attack, the corpse puppet of the great young saint suddenly broke free from the besiegement of those people. It roared angrily and fled into the distance. It was Luo Qingtong who had ordered it to leave, lest it be besieged and killed here, wasting her efforts for nothing. The corpse puppet of the great young saint obeyed the order and quickly disappeared before everyone's eyes. It rushed to the underground lair where Luo Qingtong had previously secluded herself to recuperate. Seeing the corpse puppet of the great young saint leave, those besieging the corpse puppet were instantly enraged. They looked at Luo Qingtong and shouted angrily, "Scoundrel, who are you? You actually dare to let our prey go?" These people had long regarded the corpse puppet of the great young saint as theirs. Now that it had escaped, how could they not be angry? Especially since this corpse puppet was released by Luo Qingtong. Thinking that the other party had just openly attacked them, hindered their movements, and let the corpse puppet escape, the crowd was furious and immediately attacked Luo Qingtong. "You don't need to care who I am. The important thing is that what you touched is mine." Luo Qingtong's gaze was cold as she looked at the crowd in front of her. At her feet stood the little golden mouse that had just come down from the corpse puppet of the great young saint. The latter stood by her feet and complained to her with a series of gestures. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little golden mouse was furious. It angrily told Luo Qingtong that it and Big Stone were walking peacefully on the road when these people suddenly rushed out and attacked them. Big Stone wanted to leave, but these people didn't let him and wanted to snatch the treasures on them. Big treasures, big treasures. You have to uphold justice for us, ah. Big Stone was beaten so badly by them. These people were simply taking advantage of their power to bully the corpse. No, there was also the mouse. Those were treasures that it had obtained with great difficulty. How hard it was! When a little golden mouse said that it was wronged, it jumped onto Luo Qingtong's foot and hugged her calf. Luo Qingtong looked at its gestures and narrowed her eyes. The little pig in her bosom had already translated the little gold mouse's words for her to hear. These people had coveted the treasures on her corpse puppet, so they wanted to rob and kill her so that they could take those treasures for themselves, together with this little golden mouse. Luo Qingtong let the little golden mouse climb onto her shoulder and then looked up at these people. The latter and the others didn't expect to get such an answer. That corpse puppet, its treasures, and this little golden mouse actually all belonged to this young girl in front of them. How could she control the corpses in the land of the deceased immortals? The crowd was thinking in bewilderment. Suddenly, a martial artist raised his hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong, shouting, "I know who she is. It's her. Luo Qingtong, that night I..." Following this martial artist's words, everyone's expression became even more surprised.
that you're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.